This is Steve, the Cookout Coach, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Show.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Welcome to the Really Big Barbecue Central Show. This is a show that talks about all things important to the world of barbecue and grilling. We broadcast live and direct from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio. It is the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I'm your program host, Greg Rippey. Happy to have you again on your New Year's Eve. You're sharing it with us here. Certainly appreciate it. This is typically where I give you the contact info for the show. However, not tonight. It is a different kind of show. In fact, I'm going to pull the curtain directly aside at this very moment and let you know that this entire show, as I told you last week, well, maybe I didn't tell you last week. I told you there wasn't going to be a new show. So I guess to a certain degree, I haven't kept up my end of the bargain. This is going to be a new show. However, I do want to point out the fact that this is a portion of it is pre-recorded. This particular portion is pre-recorded. The very end of the show will be pre-recorded. And here's the theme of the show. I got into the trusted circle of knowledge, and we talked about some of the better segments on the show, and figured I would do a video and audio montage isn't the right word because that would perhaps make you assume that I was going to be throwing together 20 or 30 clips, but I didn't do that. So here's how the format is going to break out tonight. We're probably going to be into that 2 hour and 20-minute stretch. So again, a little extra bonus content if you are in that kind of a mood this evening. I know it's a little different than it was last week where we were doing a Christmas Eve. Now it's New Year's Eve, a lot more partying going on instead of wrapping gifts and getting ready for Santa Claus to pop down the chimney or whatever it is that you celebrate. This is New Year's Eve, so perhaps a lot of you are already heading out the door to get in your ball drops. It sounds weird when you say it out loud, you got to be honest. So here's how the show breaks out. First up, coming up right after I get done talking to nobody tonight because I'm pre-recording this, I have one of, I think it's 5 or 6 interview segments. All the way almost a year ago, at the end of January, I talked with the one and only Susie Bulloch from Hey Grill Hey. I'm going to give you a part 2 of our 2-part interview that we did with her. So we'll catch the second part of that January segment. Then we will transition over to the 2019 Memphis in May World Champion, Tuffy Stone, the pitmaster of Cool Smoke, and I will share that conversation that I had with you. That's one segment. Then we will hit up one of my favorite new interviews of 2019. That's burger expert, burger wizard, widely considered to be the country and perhaps the world's foremost authority on everything that has to do with the hamburger and any other associated burger. George Motz will be on after Tuffy. Then we will segue out of George Motz and go right into one of my favorite interviews whenever she shows up, Danielle Bennett, Diva Q, if you may know her. She was on television this year. She did a bunch of Traeger classes this year. I pulled her out of a dinner that she was having with a bunch of her barbecue mates down in Texas when we had this interview later in the year, 2019. And we talked a bit about that. We also talked about her travels of 2019, things that we were up to together. And it was a great interview. And then we will close it out tonight with an interview with the pitmaster of Sugar's Barbecue, Lene Oxley-Loop. And Lene made her reappearance in the Barbecue Central show, Jungle in 2019, towards the end of the year. And, well, I guess it was summertime-esque, August, I think it was. Maybe early September. But Lene's a great energy, great knowledge, a lot of confidence, bringing the right stuff. Love to have her on the show. And I wanted to reshare that interview with her as well. So I believe I have it correct in my mental banks. Susie Bulloch first, then Tuffy, then George, then Diva, then Lene. You may notice heavily lady-driven in 2019. That's right. Very happy that we had a great diversity of, this is going to sound weird when I say it, a great diversity of sex on the show. What? I said a great diversity of sex on the show. That's right, I said that. But great interviews all together as I string them along. So I don't want to waste any more time blabbering here in the open. Stay tuned for Susie Bulloch of Hey Grill Hey, followed by Tuffy, followed by George Motz, followed by Diva Q, followed by Lene. You'll see me at the end closing it out, wishing you a happy new year. Enjoy this show, the last one of 2019. We are talking with Susie Bulloch from Hey Grill Hey. Thanks for hanging with me through the break there, Susie.
You betcha.
Here's a question. As the success starts to ramp up, money starts to generate, at what point did you and Todd, your husband, decide that he should stop being the CPA and be part of the HGH team full time? And like doing the Hey Grill Hey full time, you and Todd have to be around each other like all the time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have another
just
follow-up.
Off frame, actually. We're never more than like 6 feet away.
Great, perfect. I have a great follow-up question to do. So when do you guys decide that it is, I guess, an okay idea for Todd to leave probably what is a fairly lucrative and fairly stable gig?
I told him on New Year's Eve 2016, I said 2017 is our year and you're quitting your job. And this is when I was maybe making like $500 a month from my website. And he was like, no.
You can't live on $500 a month? I mean, what's up?
It's like a really nice offer for a job, but I'm going to have to pass.
Yeah.
But I was determined and I hustled all that year. And that's when we first started kind of catching our breaks in terms of really utilizing the video strategies on social media. And the videos were great because they drove a lot of traffic, right? But if anybody's been in social media for a long time, you kind of know that virals are short-lived. We have a really short attention span as social content consumers. And so you have this really fantastic viral and then it dies. And then maybe you're lucky and you get another really fantastic viral and then it dies. And so we were really struggling to find the consistency in the income that we needed. But just a couple months after that, we were really lucky to lock down a sponsorship with a company that we absolutely loved. And it's Camp Chef. And so they actually wanted to work with us for an entire year, which was like, it's very unusual to have a year-long sponsorship. But our relationship was really great. And we already had a great relationship just because I liked their products a lot. And so we set up a sponsorship. And so we knew for like a year, okay, this is what our minimum income is going to be, right? Was it enough for us to live on? Absolutely not. But was it great to have like a supplementary thing that we could actually count on?
Yeah.
Yes. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, this is a great thing and I can build on this. And then we started to experience like these really jumps in viral traffic. And then we noticed when they went back down, they started to go back down lower and then they would rebound a lot faster. And during that time, I also really started to focus on Google traffic. Like, how can I get people that are Googling something to end up on our website, right? And it was a lot of work. We've been working on our SEO traffic for well over a year. We started in 2017. And if you Google right now, smoked prime rib, we have 2 results on the first page. We're number 1 for smoking ribs. We're number 1 for smoked pork shoulder and smoked pork butt and smoked pulled pork for one post. And so being able to kind of turn up organically when people are searching for resources for barbecue, all that did was fulfill exactly what I wanted to do when I started this, right? Was I wanted to give the backyard cooks the resource that I didn't necessarily have when I first started. I had to go to books and I had to buy books and I had to read and research. And so I wanted to create a resource for people online where they could find something that would help them feed people and get that same like giant eyeball experience that I would get serving people steaks at my family's restaurants. And so that really, really helped bolster like our monthly income because we had recurring visitors coming back over and over and over again. So we got about halfway through the year and Todd was like, oh, you might actually be able to do this. And so he went and talked to his boss. He was like, hey, Susie's got this thing and she really wants me to quit my job and I think she could make it work. And his boss told him to burn the bridges. He's like, we'll be here as long as you need us to, but like if you feel called to go, you should go. So he worked for 6 more months. Our goal was to have, I had replaced his income in that 6 months.
Nice.
So our goal was to have at least 6 months saved up when he quit his job so that we could survive if things went real far south.
Yeah.
And so we took the leap in December. So that year he quit his job. It was the last month of the year, but gosh darn it, I made it. And I told him that we would. So he quit his job and yeah, we've been working together for just over a full year now.
Susie
And
Bulloch
it's been awesome.
joining me here on the show. So, I mean, let's talk about that for a second. You guys are around each other all the time. And look, I get it. You're married. There's love. You guys are parents. There's, a commitment there as well. I get all that. But let's be honest. There isn't any division between work life and home life since it's all together. So
Yeah.
how do you make it work and do it in a healthy way?
I think the best thing is that we are incredibly compatible. So we don't argue. We both are able to kind of accept critique really well. But I will say the first probably 3 or 4 months were the hardest because he had quit his job and we were still really trying to figure out the division of responsibilities. Like, okay, these are all the things that I've been doing up to this point. And if we want to take this to the next level, like I need help. I've done as much as I can do on my own. He was helping me edit videos up to that point. But in terms of all the other social media, the content creation, it was on my shoulders. And so how can we keep that so that I can still develop recipes, which is what I'm passionate about and good at, but the site can still continue to grow. And so just figuring out what he was good at in this space and how he could contribute and how he could have his own things, that was the hardest part, but we've really like settled into our niche and he's taken on a lot, especially this year as we're launching a full product line. He's spearheading that entire thing and he's actually launched it as its own complete like business. So that's been really fantastic. And I think the craziest thing when it comes to like work-life separation is that we just don't have one and we're not super sad about it. Like, I think it's really easy to hit burnout and hit overwhelm. But we're lucky because we really, really, really love what we do. And we feel freaking blessed every single day. Who gets to make a living writing recipes about barbecue, right?
Few.
That's the craziest thing. And if I could have been a child and somebody had asked me, like, what do you want to do in your future? I wouldn't have said this, but if I had known it was possible, I sure would have picked it. Like, so anyway, we just have a lot of gratitude and we're grateful every single day. We're grateful that people still continue to come to our site and use our recipes, that they share pictures of our recipes that they've cooked on the internet, and that they share these experiences with their family. So anyway, we're really lucky. We love it.
Another way that you're generating or adding another revenue stream is, and I don't know if it's a lot of websites or a lot of content creators, but I know a few, and now I can add you as a new one to the list, is doing these exclusive groups. You pay X amount per month or per year, depending on how you have it set up. You get bonus content. So you have something called the Grill Squad, and if you just want to talk about that for a couple minutes, what's my ROI as a squad member?
So the Grill Squad is kind of awesome, and it's probably our favorite place on the internet that exists, even like beyond our website. Luckily, our website is like the vehicle to get people there. But the Grill Squad is I mean, I'll tell you what it includes, like being a member, right? So it's $50 for a year. And you have unlimited access to my meat master classes. So this is 2 hours of video footage where you're essentially in my kitchen with me. And I show you step by step how I prep brisket, how I do pulled pork, how I do smoked chicken, and how I do ribs. And I don't just show you a recipe or give you like a pretty picture and then a printable recipe. This is very much hands-on. Through the trimming process, you get close-up shots. You see how everything's supposed to look. You see how I use my knives, how we smoke, what kind of wood we use, what temperatures we're shooting for, all of these little details. And each of these videos comes with a printable workbook. And each of the workbooks has a log where you can track your cooks every time. So it's like your own barbecue journal. And those are kind of the heart of the Grill Squad. So you have unlimited access to those videos. We also have a private Facebook group, which is amazing. We have, you get kind of this exclusive access to the website. So if you're one that has bookmarked my site and come back for recipes over and over again, you know that there's ads. That's how we monetize. That's how we support our family and our business. But if you're a member of the Grill Squad, they're gone. So you have no ads anywhere on our website, which is kind of cool. It's like paying for Netflix, right? You get this premium viewing experience. We also do a discount for all Grill Squad members, and right now it's on all of our products. Oh, Todd brought in. So we just launched this year. We have a barbecue seasoning line, and we have sauces. We're running some custom butcher paper that'll be out soon. We have shirts, hats, and we're going to continue to add products to our store all year long. And so you have exclusive discounts on all of our store products. We do monthly giveaways for members. You're automatically entered to win. They're $1,000. You get both of my ebooks. So I've created 2 ebooks with recipes that don't exist on the website. You get both of those for free when you're a member. And we do podcast interviews that aren't released anywhere else. You get early access to all the podcast interviews.
You're doing podcasts too?
Not that we haven't released any of them to the public.
Just exclusive for the Grill Squad members.
Yep, we're starting. So they've had exclusive access to those for 7 months. So we're starting to roll out some of the earlier ones to the public. Yeah. But the Grill Squad will continue to get exclusive access before anyone else can hear them.
So, like, what are the big names that you're podcasting with?
We have interviewed Christy Vanover. She was our most recent from Girls Can Grill. She just took first place in chicken at Slaborama.
Yes, using your chicken rub, by the way.
Yes, she was using my chicken rub.
Shout out to Christy. Good job. Awesome. Nice.
Oh, Christy. And it was her birthday. I love Christy.
Right.
We have interviewed Jared Standing from Standing's Butchery. We've interviewed Christian Stevenson, DJ Barbecue. We have interviewed, I'm trying to run through my list of people that we've interviewed. Oh, Susie Felton from Felton Angus Beef. We've talked to the guys at Bacon's Air who do the pork panko products. So, yeah, it's been really fun.
All right. If you need any context, I mean, I've kind of interviewed everybody. You know.
Okay.
Let's talk quickly about a recipe. Well, you know what? Let me back up just for 1 second. If we have to go a little bit long, we can go a little bit long.
Okay.
You had mentioned rubs and sauces. Yeah. I have to ask you this because every time I talk to people about sauces and rubs, this is the question that I love to get answers on. Actually, I was just talking to a guy. I've started a barbecue documentary. I don't know if you knew this, but there's a guy by the name of Dion Blumenrader. He's just a listener of the show. He's starting to bring his sauce to market, so I'm tracking him once a quarter. He's coming in. We're starting right from ground zero, and we're going to track him over the course of the year and see how it goes. But here's my question to you as it was to him last week. 10 years ago, I would say, Susie, you got to get a sauce and a rub to market because it's hot right now. Fast forward to 10 years, and I'm saying, Susie, why in the hell would you bring a sauce and a rub to market? Because you can go into grocery stores, national grocery store chains, and have an aisle or an aisle and a half of barbecue and grilling-related products, and it seems like there's the potential for more noise than being able to stand out. So how, I guess, A, was that a concern, and how are you differentiating yourself from all of the other stuff?
So we have a couple of things. We initially got into rubs and sauces because our readers asked us, hey, we love your recipes. We would love the convenience of being able to have a pre-made sauce or a pre-mixed rub on our shelves that we can pull out and use, right? So up until this point, everything that we have done on the website in terms of recipes for people have been free. Anyone can access them at any time. There's no paid window unless you want to join the Grill Squad and have no ads, right? But even they can access any of the recipes anytime they want. And we have rub recipes. We have sauce recipes. We've even bottled the sauces that are on our website. We've adapted them a little bit so that they can stand up to the bottling process better. Like, there's things with pH and things with clumping. And so we've had to adapt them for the retail space. But honestly, we made them because people asked us for them. And we figure amidst all the noise, amidst all the products that are available, if people still want our product, we'd be pretty stupid not to give them the products that they're asking for, right? And so it's definitely been... It was not an easy decision to make. It's one that we've talked about for a long time. But we felt like we could definitely offer something unique to the space in the way that we were doing our products. And I am sure that you're familiar with sauces that are on the market right now, but a lot of them are supplemented with liquid smoke products. And man, we just did not want to go there.
Heard that.
So each of our sauces are specifically designed to complement smoked meat, not to give regular meat smoked flavor.
Got it.
Does that make sense? And so they're not augmented with artificial smoke flavor. They're really like true to the flavors that they represent on the bottle. And they're really delicious. And I very much love them. There's no like high fructose corn syrup. There's no fillers. We really are proud of the products that we've created. And I'm really excited to put my name on the bottle because it's something that I don't know. I wanted to give to the people that asked for it, and I wanted to give it to them in the best way possible. So from everything from like sourcing the shape of the bottles to the way that we were producing them was very intentional and very thought out. And for us, it's less about turning this into like a massive money-making business, right? For us, it's about serving the people that are loyal to us and serving the people that come to our page and serving our followers that are excited about the stuff that we're doing. That was the biggest driver.
Can I get a quick recipe from you?
Sure.
Balls of fire.
I did not name them that, by the way.
Shout out to me. I think that actually might have been my buddy Stover that said balls of fire. But these are like meatballs, but they're also got jalapeno and they have some cheddar cheese and they have some bacon. So talk to me a little bit about that.
So this was a recipe that I actually wrote almost 2 years ago. This was like pre-video. So I had developed this recipe and loved this recipe and wanted to share this recipe. And so I did in like a picture form, right? And every time I would share the picture on social media, it would go nuts. People love it. And I finally thought it was time to make a video. So we made a video just a couple of weeks ago. And this was kind of very intentional, like pre-Super Bowl food. Like we want this video to hit when people are thinking about like finger food, party food, something you can throw on a stick and just enjoy. And they are every bit as delicious as they sound. So they're beef meatballs, 100% beef meatballs. They're like mixed in with cheddar cheese and jalapenos. They're bacon wrapped and slow smoked. So all that awesome fat renders out of the bacon. And then they're brushed with whatever your favorite barbecue sauce is. I used my apple jalapeno barbecue sauce. And they're freaking awesome.
And a great, super big game food. I don't want to get sued.
Oh, yeah, we can't say that word.
Great soup or bowl food.
There it is.
Right.
That's what I said, too.
Oh, you said soup or bowl?
I did, yeah.
All right.
In case anybody goes back and double check it.
Yeah, that's right. We want to make sure we're both not sued. Susie, you want to do a lightning round before I let you go?
Sure.
Of course you do. Here we go. I'm going to ask you some questions, just the answer right off the top of your head. There's no right or wrong answer. Ready?
Yeah.
True or false? Searing seals in the juices.
True.
No! Searing doesn't seal in the juices?
Well, I did wait and do it at the end. So
Susie,
I reversed here.
We're going to have a conversation offline. Next question.
You
yes.
said there was no wrong answer, and then you did.
I know, but don't you know I live in hypocrisy all the time? That's part of the show. Yes or no, I still have the first barbecue pit I ever owned.
Yes.
Let it rest or let's eat?
Let it rest.
Radio or podcast?
Podcast.
Bourbon or gin?
Sober.
Oh, well.
I've never had a sip of alcohol in my life.
Oh, okay. So Old Fashioned or Sazerac is probably out of the. I just quit drinking myself over a year and a half ago. Beef brisket or pork ribs?
Oh, brisket.
Guy Fieri or Bobby Flay?
Ooh, Guy Fieri.
Ina Garten or Ree Drummond?
Ina.
Of course. Open Pit or Sweet Baby Ray's?
Open Pit.
No!
I don't even know what that question was.
That's a barbecue sauce recipe, or that's a barbecue sauce question. You don't know.
I have never heard of Open Pit in my life, but it sounded bad. It sounded great.
Oh, let me tell you something. I do have a hidden agenda when it comes to the Open Pit Sweet Baby Ray. I have no idea, and if this is totally over your head since you don't really know what it is, but I have no idea how a human being can open up Open Pit barbecue sauce, see its fluorescent orange color.
I've seriously never seen it. Is it like in grocery stores? I've never even heard of it.
Widely available. It's got this really bad blue wrapper on it. I mean, you've never seen it because once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's how weird it looks.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm pretty sure that if it touches your skin.
Their name is good.
Yeah, it's a great name, but
That's a great name.
It probably stains your skin orange too. Like that's how much I feel strongly against it. And I try and set up my man Sweet Baby Ray, but everybody picks Open Pit. So
I don't even have anything against Sweet Baby Ray's.
I love Sweet Baby Ray's. That's why I'm saying it's a setup question. Nevertheless, if you want to check out Susie, you go to heygrillhey.com. You follow her on all the social media
Follow me
channels.
now. I don't even know what Open Pit is, and I don't know how to sear things.
Right. Well, that's okay. We'll win everybody back. Yeah, please. So, again, heygrillhey.com is the website. And, Susie, I'm hoping you had a good time, enough for maybe you could actually come back and we could really talk a lot more about food and stuff. But I thought this was a great story.
I like talking about food.
All right. Well, once again, it's Susie Bulloch. heygrillhey.com, slowly. And we will look for you again, maybe in a month or 2 or 3 or whenever it fits in your schedule.
Sweet. Thanks so much for having me. It was fun.
Susie, thanks so much. There she is. Susie Bulloch, heygrillhey.com. My next guest, one of the most recognizable faces in barbecue. You see him on TV, in his restaurants, writing books, competition trail. This past weekend, you might have seen him in Memphis, Tennessee, winning not only the world title in pork shoulder, but added Memphis in May overall grand champ as well. His first overall MIM title, by the way. So let's go ahead and race to the Fogo Charcoal Hotline. And welcome back. The pitmaster of Cool Smoke, Barbecue Hall of Famer Tuffy Stone joins me here on the show. Tuffy, how are you, buddy?
Hey, Greg, I'm doing well. How are you?
Absolutely fabulous. Probably not doing any better than you are, though, given the events of this past weekend, no doubt about it. So did you spend all of the winnings that night that you put on Instagram?
We tried. We put a dent in it, but we were all moving a little slow, so we went to bed early. So we're gonna have to spend some more time working on that.
So let's start with this past weekend, Tuffy, knocking down 2 world titles, pork shoulder to get into the final, and then overall world champ. You certainly aren't new to this particular event, that being Memphis in May, and it's truly a one-of-a-kind competition. So do you prepare for this particular event any differently than you would if you were going to a KCBS contest or a Houston contest or something other than a Memphis contest?
Absolutely. With Memphis in May, there's a lot. I have to bring a lot more equipment, so we have to set up. We rent tents and tables and chairs and flooring. Our site's pretty modest in comparison to some of the elaborate double deckers down there, but so we have to coordinate the rentals, and then it's a matter of you have to present your. In this case, I'm cooking whole shoulder, so I've got to have enough pit capacity where I can show the judges a whole shoulder on my pit, but I need to have a second pit because I'm cooking 8 shoulders. So there's that to deal with. There's platters, there's linens and tables for the judges to sit at. So there's a lot of those kind of elements that are completely different than when I go cook a Kansas City Barbecue Society contest or Houston Livestock Rodeo show or something like that.
Does your catering background help at all as far as getting that whole thing set up and acclimating yourself?
Absolutely. I think, honestly speaking, my catering background has helped me just in competition as a whole, because I'm so used to cooking in makeshift kitchens and having the elements to deal with, and so I believe that's helped me just not only from the setup for the presentation of Memphis MA, but just as a cook as a whole. And then my wife Leslie, she is so amazing. We create pack lists and work on we work on pulling this together for probably a couple of weeks, and we have tubs and platters and toppers and you name it, napkins. And so the catering part certainly makes the presentation part of Memphis MA a lot more easy.
From a pork shoulder standpoint, obviously you are affiliated with Smithfield. They obviously sponsor this show, so it's obviously Smithfield shoulders going on. Do you have a particular, I know they have a couple different lines of shoulders. Which ones did you use, and what did you win with?
Well, and so I'm a big fan of the Prime, which is in the process of changing to an all-natural line, but it's not enhanced at all. All of the shoulders that I had, I cooked 8 shoulders. They were all 25-pounders or thereabouts. They were really close to 25 pounds before I did a little trim work to them. They were beautiful. The marbling in these Smithfield shoulders was really, really great. And as well as I do, when we're cooking long cooked meats like ribs or shoulders or any big cuts, the more marbling that's in there, the better. And so I was really happy with my product. It was about from the kill date to the date that I cooked it, it was about 13, 14 days old, which is perfect for me. I like my shoulders to have aged that amount of time before I cook on it. And so, I tell people all the time, when I get to a contest, I come with sharp knives, good wood, clean pit, fresh rubs, good sauce, and great meat, and just hoping that you have all the things. Hopefully you get there with all the things that you would need to stand a chance in doing well, and these shoulders were just beautiful.
Have you come to learn that 8 shoulders is what you need, or is that just what you're supposed to cook?
No, so you need a whole shoulder for each on-site judge for the preliminary. So there's 3. You need. I like to have options, so I cook 8. I stagger cook 2. In hopes that we make finals. Well, if we don't make finals, we don't have any use for the 2 that we stagger cook. And I've been fortunate and needed those shoulders, and I've also cooked those shoulders and not made finals, and then it just becomes food that you take home. But so I will typically have 3 for the preliminaries, 2 choices for if we make finals, so that's 5, and then I'll have 3 that I can potentially work off of for the blind box. And sometimes I will get into just 2 for the blind box. Sometimes I'll get into 3 for the blind box. I've got lots of sayings, as you know. One of my sayings is it's better to be looking at it than looking for it. And so I like to have choices. Jamie made me a really beautiful double barrel Jambo, and that's a 30-inch diameter pipe on each side, and I'm able to comfortably put, well, that's a tight squeeze, but I can put 4 nice whole shoulders on each side.
So you end up finaling in shoulder along with your pal Chris Lilly of Big Bob Gibson's. No news to you, but nobody's won Memphis in May more than that guy, of course. It has to feel great to get over the hump and have a sniff at finals instead of being a bridesmaid in shoulder again.
I was we every year there's always a bump in the road in your cook, and another one of my sayings is it's all in how you handle catastrophes. And we had a couple of situations that we had to sort through, our shoulders. We ended up having to push the heat up on them that morning, and that's for me. That's not the preferable way to cook a whole shoulder, because where that joint is at the point and the butt, if it gets too hot, it'll pop on you, and it doesn't make for a very nice presentation. But we had to push the heat up on these and kind of sort through that. And then we built a blind box. I felt like that was pretty. What's interesting is my Memphis MA presentation is not as composed or as fanciful as I would do for Kansas City Barbecue Society. So I always kind of like look at that box and say, but it could be so much prettier. But I toned it down for that. And so we did that. And my first preliminary on-site, I tend to be a little clunky on the first one. And then by the second and the third, I get smoother. And we did that. And then it was crazy. I had to drive across to West Memphis after that and pick up a trailer that I had purchased. Mm-hmm. And so we dealt with that. We came back across the river, and we were waiting, and we were waiting, and we were waiting, and it's a long wait. And all of a sudden, we hear the roar team of Big Bob Gibson's, because there's one spot between us and them. And they're cheering, and it's energetic. And I'm like, oh, man, they made finals, and I hope we made finals. And one of the ambassadors there was so great. She got over to us like, less than a minute later. We had made finals, too. And anybody that knows me knows I kind of get emotional with that stuff. So we were the team. We were all just, very enthusiastic and happy to make it finals. And for me, making finals at Memphis MA, having started in KCBS and then, eventually trying, giving a go at Memphis MA, I'm happy if I get any kind of trophy. It doesn't matter what size it is. And so making finals, you could at least be third. And I was like, we got in the zone. We had a great, everybody that was on the teams cooked with us in the past, and we did a much better job this year, Greg, of organizing responsibilities, and we just went into motion. And I was kind of getting in the zone. I tell Sterling Ball this all the time. Whenever I have a chance to win a world championship, whenever I have a chance to cook a world championship, I always just kind of like get in this zone and try and just be, trying to just have my best cook ever and control the things that I can control. And so I was thinking about this presentation and just knowing how important it was going to be. In addition to the beautiful Smithfield shoulders, I had to be on point. And so they got there and it just flowed and the team did great. And here's something I didn't know, Greg. So we had to be the first shoulder to be judged. And in KCBS, historically, back in the old days, we always wanted a high number on our box in KCBS, because if you had a high number, they used to judge them numerically in numerical order. And so if you had a high number, it was always a good chance that your food was going to be judged last. And that was the way we always wanted to be in KCBS. Right. And so when I was being judged first, I was like, oh man, wow, this isn't good. But I found out later that day that when they judge, so we had the best shoulder score going coming out of preliminaries, and I didn't know that, and that's why we were being judged first. But Red Hot Smokers is an amazing shoulder cook, and then like you said, with Chris Lilly, it goes without saying. I mean, I have so much respect for him as a pit master. He posted a picture, or somebody posted a picture of his shoulder on Instagram, and I looked at that shoulder, and I was like, my gosh, that is one beautiful shoulder. So I was like, I was just like, it's going to be tough for us to take this, and we did our best, and then off to awards we eventually went, and it was an amazing day.
Tuffy Stone joining me, recapping the big win over at Memphis in May this past weekend. Tuffy, I've asked this question a number of times to folks that are in Memphis in May, and they have that status. So, I mean, when you are who you are, TV exposure, successful author, successful restaurateur, few in barbecue rival your recognizability. So when it comes to the on-site judging portion of this, do you see your status as something that you need to overcome, or do you see it as something that actually might give you an advantage to some degree?
Well, I have felt in years past that it probably hurt me in a couple of situations. I've had, anyways. So I don't know. I did not know the judges, the finals judges, and I had someone tell me that they were all. I knew they were all really experienced judges because they'll have something that they wear that makes you realize that they've been doing this for a while. But I was told that that they were very experienced judges, and I just always go into my presentation like I don't know. I always just try and be very humble and very like, you don't know who I am, and I'm going to introduce you to me and my team and where we're from and how we cook this food that we're serving you. And here's all my thoughts on my rub and my sauce and my pit and the selection of my pork and the wood that I use and why. And I just kind of go through it that way. At the end of the day, just to get the finals, you got to win blind box.
Yep.
If you don't win blind box, you're not going anywhere. And I think I've cooked Memphis and May now 9 times. I think I've made finals 5 times, and this is the first time that we ever won it. So to answer your question, I don't know. I just I don't. And I still feel like I'm a newbie in Memphis and May, to be honest with you. It's like I've cooked it 9 times, but so many of my buds down there. I mean, Chris Lilly and Myron and Melissa and Pat Burke and Mike Mills and this list is just so long. I mean, Pat Burke cooked his 30th straight Memphis and May this weekend. I mean, 30 years.
Wow.
I mean, it's incredible. So I don't think it helped. I don't think it helped me. And what I know about all the judges that I get to talk to, all the judges that I know and or have met, they're really focused on trying to award the best food. What I love about Memphis and May is it is comparative judging, and they can really take their time. And golly, the point spread between Cool Smoke and Big Bob Gibson's was so small. I mean, it was so small. So I feel really blessed that we got to walk the stage, and then when we were up there and we were getting ready to call Grand, I was tripping out. I was like, man, there's no way we're going to win this thing. There's no way. And then they called us, and it was unbelievable. But I said this on the stage. There were so many of my mentors and friends that are just tremendous pit masters. And Chris Lilly. I mean, what he can pull out of a shoulder. Is just, he's brilliant. He's just brilliant. And I don't know how many of those trophies he has, Greg, but he's got a whole bunch of them.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, when you can get a shipment of pork shoulders frozen and still end up winning still win shoulder and still win Memphis and May in the same year overall, I mean, you're certainly doing something right, no doubt about it. And we're talking with Tuffy Stone, the 2019 Memphis and May overall world champ. All right, so here's a quick list. If you aren't familiar with some of these, let me refresh your memory here, Tuffy. You've won the Jack 3 different times, 13, and then back-to-back 15 and 16. You've won both sides of the American Royal, the Open in 14, and the Invitational side on 13. You won the 2015 Kingsford Invitational. You've also garnered the 2012 Gary Wells Sportsmanship of the Year Award. And, of course, I think kind of where we first met, the 2007 KCBS Team of the Year. Quite an esteemed, accomplished list that most pitmasters would be highly sought after to accomplish during whatever cooking career they have. Do any of these stand out over and above the rest for any reason?
Well, first of all, you can't see me right now, but my face is really red.
Well, I mean, you won them, so, I mean, you did it.
I'm going to tell you, the most. It was. There's been so many amazing, beautiful things that I've been able to have go through in competition barbecue, and every one of those things that you just mentioned has a story. And I got to do them with my father and friends, but if I had to pick one out of all those things that made me that touched my heart, and it was so funny, it was so uneventful. One day I opened a package at work, and it was the Gary Wells Sportsmanship Award, and there was no fanfare, it just came in the mail, and that really touched my heart a lot. So if I got to pick one out of that amazing list that you just read, that's the one that's most meaningful.
Yeah, and you know what? That doesn't surprise me one bit. I mean, we've talked a lot over the years about winning this competition or that competition, but I don't know if it largely just kind of goes unnoticed, or if you really got to start digging through what about Tuffy Stone or what have you won, and that one shows up. And as I was prepping for this interview, I'm like, man, I'm going to ask this question, but I guarantee it's really not the contest. It's getting recognized for being a great human being, and we all know what the Sportsmanship Award is all about. So I figured that probably was going to be the one that might stand a little bit head and shoulders above the rest here.
It was just such a funny moment. It was like, it touched me, and of course, you and everybody else probably know how emotional I get, but those boxes came in the mail, and I opened it up, and there it was, and I had a tear to the eye, because it was so sweet that people felt that way, and so anyways, but it was you think about the Jack or the Royal or Memphis and May or all these things, and there's usually like lots of energy about the people and excitement. Here it was, just this private moment of me at my desk, and it was sweet.
What does the rest of the 2019 schedule look like for competition?
Well, so, some of the things I've been doing the last year or so that's really bringing me so much joy is I'm doing festivals where I'm cooking for people that I can see their faces when they eat it. And that's just making me so happy. And I did South Beach Food and Wine. I did Charleston Wine and Food. And I got to cook for the troops with Stretch and the Mess Lords. And that, being a former jarhead, that's been so meaningful for me. So I want to do more of those kinds of things. I did. I am, and I'm gonna be taking pictures. But I finally got a porch trailer. I had to retire the RV. Had 175,000 barbecue miles on it, and so I've got this porch trailer that I'm gonna fix up and do some work on it. I'm gonna put a Jambo enclosed model that I've had for a very long time on there. And I would have told you before Saturday that if I could cook, I'm getting it, winning Memphis in May. I'm now an automatic for the Jack, so I get to go down to we get to go to the Jack again, and I'm super excited about that. Yep. I am doing the Washington D.C. contest, which is a contest that I love, and I do some demos there. My dad enjoys doing competition barbecue so much that he'll be 79 in December, and I think this new porch trailer hopefully will make it easier for him. So we'll pepper in some competition barbecue, but I'm really enjoying I'm working on a restaurant. You're the first. I haven't talked about this to any type of media or anything, but I'm working on a new restaurant with my wife and my partner Josh, and I'm excited about that. It's going to have a market and a restaurant. You're the first, Greg. So there you go. You heard it first on your show, but that's going to hopefully open and. It's probably looking early fall now, so that's going to have some cool stuff going on. It's going to have a market with a little meat section in the back, and we're going to have a wood burning grill and a wood burning oven. We're going to do some fun stuff. So, anyways, I always got something that I'm working on.
Man, busy.
I just can't thank you enough for having me on your show, man. It's like I just rehashing this with you. Me and everybody on the team, I think we still feel like we're kind of in a dream. And this didn't really happen. So being on your show kind of like maybe it did happen.
Yeah, it's always good to relive it and then re-soak it in, let it soak in over the course of the week, and it certainly will feel like a nice new suit come the beginning of next week, no doubt about it. And it's something that you can just put on the belt notch there, and it's yours. Nobody can take it away now. You got 2019 Memphis in May world champion and shoulder champion to go along with it. It's Tuffy Stone, the pitmaster of Cool Smoke. Tuffy, really appreciate the time catching up and letting us into this whole look back. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate you so much. I appreciate all the things you do for barbecue, and thanks for having me again.
You got it. There he is, Tuffy Stone. Your 2019 Memphis in May World of the Food Film Festival, the author of the travel guide Hamburger America, the Great American Burger Book, was hailed by the New York Times as the leading authority on hamburgers. He also hosted and produced Burgerland and hosted Made in America. We go ahead and race to the hotline and welcome first-timer to the show, George Motz. George, how are you, pal?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm absolutely fabulous, George. Appreciate you making time for the show this evening and finally getting together here. I'm very excited to have you. And let's jump right into it. Are you really ready to punch the next person in the face who blames farting cows for global warming?
Yes, because I think there's a lot of misinformation about global warming and how it relates to cows, for sure. I mean, why wouldn't I?
Is cow flatulence not participating to the decreasing of the ozone layer? I just made up a few words there, by the way.
Well, those are up made-up words, but yes, I do believe it could have a very small part. But I mean, let's be honest. I mean, how can a cow's gas have anything, up? How can it battle the emissions from an airplane or a car? I mean, come on.
I don't know, but it seems like every time I go online, and obviously, given the theme of the show here, I do a lot of research about barbecue, grilling, live fire in general. That lends itself to meat or beef in some form or fashion. And inevitably, every week, I'm seeing some new article where if it's not cow farts, it's cow burps, or they're eating something, or they're breathing harder than they were 15 years ago, and we're all in for imminent death here in the next few weeks.
Right. Well, I think the bottom line is that people, especially the media, loves to be able to use the hamburger as an example of what's killing us. At first, it was, obviously you shouldn't eat too many hamburgers to kill you, which is probably true. But now they're trying to battle this by coming at us from the angle of the farting animal, which I think is also ridiculous. And the hamburgers, they're taking cheap shots at America's favorite food because they know they're going to get a lot of mileage out of it in the media.
Absolutely. George Motz joining us here on the show. Are you also really working on a musical about hamburgers?
I've been working on a musical about hamburgers for a long time. It takes a long time. But that's still kind of a back burner thing.
Yeah, I mean, like, what's a long time? 5, 10, 20 years that you're working on this masterpiece?
I've been working on this thing for probably about 5 years, but I've had meetings. I've taken meetings with agents.
Really?
So things are definitely going to happen. Oh yeah. But I have a feeling that my hamburger restaurant is probably going to happen before the hamburger musical, for sure.
Now, I know a lot of people within the live fire industry, and it just so happens I am a close personal friend with also another Emmy Award winner, by the way, John Marcus, who is really into the whole live play and musical thing. So if there's ever an introduction that needs to be made, or maybe you and John hang out in the Upper West Side or whatever it is, but I can make that intro if you need to.
John's a good friend of mine. We've done events together. He's a great guy. He's a great like New York barbecue guy, which is pretty unique in a way.
All right, so you are home based out of Brooklyn, New York, correct?
Exactly. Yeah, I live in Brooklyn.
All right, so are you a born and bred New Yorker, or are you transplanted from somewhere?
I grew up on Long Island. Garden City, New York, which is not the most exciting town in the world, and I was excited to get the hell out of there, honestly. But I've done nothing but travel my entire life after leaving Garden City, for sure.
So as we kind of roll back here, I don't want to just assume everybody knows how cool you are and that you're the foremost burger authority, but a young George Motz, is a passion for burgers developing within you, as a youth that you can remember? Is it something that the family ate a lot of and you just kind of took a shine to it, or how does the passion for burger develop otherwise?
I just growing up on Long Island, which was, it was a bit singular. It wasn't the most exciting place to grow up, especially where I grew up. And for me, I think I dreamed about what it was like in the rest of the country. And I'm one of the only people I know who got out of Garden City and actually went and explored America. And I did it in a way that I was exploring, like, the foreign countries, like exploring India and Africa. I really took it very, very seriously. And I made a point to see every single state in the United States before I saw anything else in the world. And I did. I mean, at this point, I've gotten to 48 states, 50 states. I actually went to 47 of those before I even went on foreign shores.
So what are the two that are remaining?
Still remaining states. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I've actually owned it down to. There's still two. No, there's one. It's just Alaska. It's the only one I haven't been to.
Yeah.
I think I conquered North Dakota about 2 years ago. I forgot about this. So I'm actually at 49 right now.
All right, 49 of the 50 U.S. states George has been through. So, I mean, do you have a favorite one, or is that like a favorite kid type of question?
That's definitely a favorite kid kind of question, because I see so much great in America. I really do, and when I get out there, I mean, I've taken vacations that have nothing to do with, research or work at all. I've just gone to, burger destinations, just eat burgers and talk to people. That was it. I mean, I would say that, people, I think, tend to call them the flyover states. They talk about, Iowa and Oklahoma and Ohio and Michigan. I guess Michigan so much, but there's so much to see and do there that people really can't believe it until they actually set foot in the state and start exploring. I love Oklahoma. I love the Midwest. There's so much real America there.
Have you been to Cleveland?
I've been to Cleveland, yes. I've been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
You have? Guess who hasn't been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Your humble host.
No, come on.
I live 10 minutes away from the Rock and Roll. But here's the deal. I mean, everybody that I know, and it's been plenty of people now over the last, however many years it's actually been up and running, that have come out and been like, And I'm like, oh, shit. Like, I mean, it's such a non-glowing review. It's like somebody took a bite of a really bad piece of food and said, oh, this is not good. George, you take a bite. I mean, you're like, no way. I don't want to do that. So I guess I've just stayed away.
I loved it there. I loved it. I mean, I'm a huge fan of music, live music. And it really is a place if you're a fan of music, it's a great place to immerse yourself for sure.
Did you have any stick-out food moments while you visited Cleveland?
I had ice cream at a place that had ice cream. I'm not sure where I was now, but it was a place that had ice cream that was from a former department store. Do you know about this at all?
It's not ringing a bell. The big ice cream thing now here locally is Mitchell's ice cream, but I don't know if that's even the same thing.
But this is an old school thing that came. I guess it was originally served at some small counter in a department store in Cleveland, and some guy bought the recipe and served it in his ice cream shop, which is just outside of, I think, just west of Cleveland. I mean, It's totally random, I know, but it was fantastic. It's kind of like a soft serve type ice cream, like kind of chocolatey, kind of coffee-like. I'm not sure, but it was really good.
All right, I'll have to do a little more digging on that. What about from a burger standpoint? Did you take in any Cleveland burgers of any type?
I mean, not much. I got to tell you. I mean, I don't have any favorites there except for who is the Galley Boy? What's the place with the Galley Boy? The drive-in with the Galley Boy.
That's Swenson's. But
Swenson's.
I mean, I can't even believe are we going to get into our first controversy of the evening? You know what? As somebody who has had a lot of burgers in my day, and I told my oldest at Seton Hill University that I said, Bobby, I'm having the foremost hamburger authority in the country on this. She's like, Dad, I'm the foremost hamburger authority, and I would love to have a conversation with George, and we would trade barbs. And I said, just back down, kid, and focus on those studies in volleyball. But Swenson's, to me, it's local. It's grown a tad. It's got that, dudes running around real quick to your car, and it kind of scares me a little bit, and quickly the food comes out. But I don't know, aside from just a little bit of a unique taste to that Galley Boy burger, if it's really kind of life-changing.
Well, I'll tell you why it's important. It's because a place like Swenson's actually has DNA in it that goes back to the original drive-in, which actually predates even the hamburger. Original drive-ins were actually they started with a pig stand. They actually started as pig stands in Texas, and what those kids do, those teenagers do, is they're doing exactly what car hops did back in the 30s and 40s in Texas, and of course eventually across America. Do you know where the word car hop comes from?
Yep.
You know the story of the car hop?
I do not.
So somebody as active as the car hops or the guys that would come out and take your order at Swenson's,
yep.
They would literally run out to the street as a car was turning into the lot, and they would jump onto the running board of a car hop,
huh.
and they would ride your car into a spot while they were taking your order.
Really?
They would buy a few seconds to actually take the order by standing on your running board. What can I get you, sir?
Wow, that's a great story.
So if you think about it, Swenson's actually is an extraordinarily important piece of American food history.
All right, I'll buy that. Very good. We're talking with George Motz, totally. And car hop totally makes sense now that you actually explained it, because nobody's done that before. So let's talk about, and maybe you don't like to, hear it, or, it's just humble, but, being the leading hamburger authority. So how does one build a way to be recognized as a hamburger authority?
I mean, I started almost 20 years ago. I made a film just for fun called Hamburger America, which was a very small, actually very quiet film that explored 8 different hamburger restaurants in America. And back then, nobody was doing any kind of hamburger reporting at all. I mean, even the Food Network they hadn't taken the hamburger seriously at all. It wouldn't show up at any kind of show at all. So someone said to me, "Could you have Food Network? Could you make some content for some in between the shows?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" And I made one little 5-minute clip about a hamburger place in New Mexico, and I realized that it was so much bigger than any kind of silly Food Network thing. And I ended up making a 1-hour documentary that went on PBS, it went on the Sundance Channel,
oh, wow.
And that sort of started my branding, if you will, for the whole hamburger world that I now basically own. It's kind of funny.
I mean, do you dig that? Do you dig kind of being the face of a portion of an industry?
I do. I mean, because I'm asked my opinion often. I do have the answers, which is kind of nice. But I'm constantly, I'll probably get 10, 15 texts a day saying, "You hear this happened, this place closed, this person changed this meat, this person has a new spatula." I mean, I've become a lightning rod for everything. I mean, I hear everything that's going on. So even though the idea of being an expert is that you have passion, and obviously for something you have knowledge. So if you combine passion and knowledge, you do become an expert. And I've got both those things. I mean, spades for sure.
So prior to Hamburger America coming out, or, I'm sure there was a bunch of time that you were working on it and then leading up to its release. But prior to that, what are you doing as a profession? Is it photography? Is it videography?
Yeah. So what I do, the reason I was able to make this film happen is I'm a director of photography by trade. I'm basically, back then I was shooting a lot of TV shows and TV commercials. And I would travel a lot. And every time I was on the road, people would say to me, "George, you going to go check out a hamburger spot?" They would laugh at me. "Yeah, actually, I've got my camera in the bag. I want to go interview somebody about hamburgers." And which I did. I mean, I spent a lot of time. So I would basically piggyback jobs. I would be in Milwaukee. I would be in Santa Fe. I'd be in California. And I would bring my camera and I would shoot interviews with people just to get an idea of, what is Hamburger America.
Let's do this. Can we find, or is there a trackable, quote unquote, first burger or burger zero of the hamburger world? Does it exist?
It probably does, but none of us really have that kind of information because it happened before the internet.
And the internet always tells the truth, by the way, George. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Exactly. So, but if you go back to the very, very beginning, the reason we don't have anything that's actually traceable is simply because the hamburger may have been invented at a state fair. And, of course, state fairs are transient. And we're talking about state fairs in the 1890s, 1895. And, back then, there was people would say, "Oh, I had this great thing." And it was a Hamburg steak, which is back then was served on a plate served with a knife and a fork. I mean, my guess is somebody at a state fair watched a hot dog walk by and said, "Whoa, we should put our Hamburg steak on a piece of bread." And that may have been how it was. And it probably happened 4, 5, 6 times over in a span of 5 years. And then, so there's really no way to track, a lot of claims to the original hamburger. But we do know that it started at a state fair somehow in the Midwest.
Does it surface in a more stable brick and mortar and or restaurant environment at some point?
It does. Actually, I mean, one of the best claims that I like, probably not an original claim, because the timing was a little bit late. It was 1900. That a place called Louis' Lunch in Connecticut served the first Hamburg steak on bread, which is basically chopped beef cooked somehow and served on bread. And their story that I guess the 5th generation family member told was that somebody ran in and said, "I'm in a rush. I don't have time for a knife and a fork. Could you please just throw it on some bread?" And they say they invented it then, though I do believe that it may have been invented in the Midwest before that. What's nice though is that at Louis' Lunch in Connecticut, it still is the longest continually operating hamburger restaurant in America, which I find fascinating. I mean, they've been around for 119 years.
So you can go right there today and potentially get the first creation of a hamburger right there in 2019.
Yeah, they should actually still make it on toast.
Oh, really?
They never adopted the bun.
Is it a big place? I mean, do people go there for nostalgia and to say they ate there, or is it pretty run of the mill busy?
It's funny. It's a little bit of both. You get fans there who can't believe they're eating in what we call hamburger church. It's like one of the most important places in the world of hamburgers. You walk in, there's no music playing, there's nobody saying, "Hi, can I take your order?" They really couldn't give a crap about you. You walk in and they look at you like you just walking up, like kind of, what do you want? And you give them your order, and they're happy to give you a burger, but they're not. It's not all warm and fuzzy. It's not that if you ask for ketchup, you're shown the door. If you ask for too many burgers, you're shown the door.
Wow.
If you tell them that you want a burger cooked a certain way, they'll look at you like you're crazy. And I tell people, just when you walk in there, just don't be a jerk. Just walk in there and get the burger they've been serving for 119 years. Enjoy it and get the hell out of there.
Is that a shtick that they're running there, or they're just built like that?
No, I swear it is no shtick. I've known these guys forever. They've become good friends of mine, and they're hard boiled. This is like hard boiled hamburger, hamburger royalty as far as I'm concerned.
George Motz joining us here on the show. By the way, if you want to check out his website, it is his name, georgemotz.com. And you can check him out here while we're chagging up here over the next few minutes. So, George, let's kind of pull it back out again here at 30,000 feet and talk a little bit of opinion here. So, in your estimation, what makes burgers great? Regardless of type and region, we'll get all of that stuff here in a minute, but what makes burgers great?
I mean, the number one ingredient to a great burger is fresh ground beef cooked correctly. And the second thing is, I think is also equally as important, is that once you have that fresh ground beef, how do you build a burger? I mean, your first bite of a burger really should be the thing that you say to yourself, "I'm coming back." So you take that first bite and you've got to taste of everything in that first bite, whether it's, it's just a burger and cheese and the bun, or you're tasting all the elements that person gave you, the sauce and the onions and whatever else is on there. It should all be in the first bite. So that's the most important thing, is that I call the comeback bite. That the first bite should be the one that says, "I'm coming back."
When you talk about the meat, I've had a number of people on here during the course of the 12-year run of the show. Then we get fairly into the minutia of, is it choice? Is it prime? Is it certified Angus? Is it Wagyu? Is it 80-20? Is it 75-15? Blah, blah, blah. What do you find to be the best meat choice? And then what's your fat blend choice as well?
Yeah, again, it has to be fresh, but never frozen. I mean, even sometimes if you freeze a large, side of animal, or you freeze, box beef, and then you try to grind it, it's still you've already destroyed the cells of the animal. You're much better off starting with the fresh product. The best burgers will always come from an animal that was never frozen. And for me, it's chuck. Honestly, if you can, the foolproof way is to go 80-20 or 75-25 chuck, which means 75% lean, 25% fat. I think it's probably the best thing for a burger.
Temperature-wise, as you're cooking, do you have a internal temperature of the burger that you like to pull it off at, or are you a thermometer guy when you're cooking burgers, or does all just kind of look, feel, poke?
Yeah, I'm only a thermometer guy for the cooking surface, not for the internal temperature, because my favorite burger to cook is a smash burger. I like to be able to cook a burger smashed, super thin, but cooked fast and hot. And for that, I need a griddle that's burning at least 500 degrees. So if my thermometer is kicking back 500 degrees, I have a surface-free thermometer. If it's 500 degrees, I'm in great shape.
Let's talk about smash burger for a second, because it's obviously been around for quite some time. It's a favorite of yours, and I've been seeing it, I'd say over the last 18 to 24 months, a lot more prevalently in YouTube videos, on some of the Periscope videos and so forth. Can you give me an idea of, for somebody who doesn't know us, about a smash burger, the general concept and how you bring it from start to finish?
The basic idea is smash burger goes back to the beginning of the hamburger age. The smash burger was invented strictly for speed. It was only done to get people in and out of the restaurant as fast as possible. Other guys at the beginning had stools with 4 to 6 stools. Actually, they had stands with 4 to 6 stools in front. And if you had a guy sitting on a stool, you want to get him out of there as fast as possible. So you took little balls of beef and you smashed them on a flat top, and they cooked within about 30 seconds to a minute. They cook super fast. They go onto a very small. Back then, they served them on dinner rolls, small Pullman rolls or dinner rolls. That's where we get the slider from. And then you could buy 4 or 5 or 6 of those, and inhale those and walk away and free the stool up. So if you think about a smash burger, it really is all about speed. But it's also happening. The smash burger has to be cooked on a flat top. Has to be cooked on some kind of a hot surface to get that really, really amazing, crunchy, griddled char. And that I think is the best part about the flavor profile. A lot of the thicker burgers, they're fantastic and they're full of juice. They're full of juices that taste like a steak. But honestly, when you're trying to make a smash burger, you're not trying to make a burger that tastes like a steak.
Are you looking for juiciness of that, or is it a whole different expectation?
There's 2 different types of juice. There is actual rendered fat inside of a thick patty burger.
Yeah. But
there's also some other regular, the liquefied, liquefaction that's happening inside this has nothing to do with any kind of liquefied fat at all. With a smash burger, it's strictly just liquid fat. And it's concentrated liquid fat because you smashed it thin.
And are you typically stacking these, or can it just be one on a? Well, okay, let me back up for a second. People are now talking about meat to bun ratio. I'm getting some instant chat stuff here. Do you have a meat to bun ratio specificity depending on the type of burger that you're making, or typically if you're making this kind of burger, you want to have about this much bun?
To me, the best meat to bun. I'll give you some secrets here. Inside scoop. That for me, the best meat to bun ratio is a 3-inch potato roll, so 3-inch bun, and you're talking about 2 separate patties. If you have 2 smashed patties that are about 2.5 to 3 ounces each, probably 2.5 ounces is probably enough. So you're talking about a 5 ounces of meat with a 3-inch bun is probably the best way to go. And you're talking about smash thin. So if you take a 2.5 ounce patty and you smash it thin, it has to be a little bit bigger the size of the bun. So that's a pretty thin patty. But what you get, though, is you end up with 4 surfaces that have the Maillard reaction with a nice brittle crunch. You get that nice, that almost like beef candy as developed on the outside of the burger. But you have 4 sides that have it on there.
Are you a bun toaster?
I'm not. It's funny. I do appreciate the bun toast. I do. I don't appreciate people who put too much butter on a burger. It doesn't make any sense to me, because if you over butter the bun will just fall apart. Because once all those rendered fats start to attack the bun, you've got a matter of seconds before that thing falls apart in your hand. So if you have a buttered bun and you haven't toasted it correctly, or too much butter, it will definitely deteriorate the bun way faster. So for me, I personally actually like to do what I call letting it ride. I flip a burger on the flat top, and then I put the crown, so the top part of the bun, down first. The cheese goes down first, and the crown goes on top of the cheese. Then I put the heel of the bun upside down, or right side up, on top of the bun. And it becomes this stack of 2 buns and cheese and meat that end up actually steaming the bun while it's sitting there on the flat top for the next minute or 2.
We were talking about smash burger. Let me tie that up here, because I've seen some of your videos, and the picture you sent me to use here on the video size has a lot of onions on them. Is that a personal preference, or is that a requirement in your estimation?
Well, a little bit of both, I guess. But it is. That's actually when I do events. I make a burger called the Oklahoma Fried Onion Burger. That only came about because I wrote a cookbook about 3 years ago. And someone said to me, well, can you come on the show and you come on a TV show and make a burger? What could you make in a 5-minute segment? I thought, what would be the best bang for their buck? And it became that burger, which is a smashed thin burger. It goes back to the 1920s in central Oklahoma, actually specifically a place called El Reno, Oklahoma. What they do is they actually take equally sized wad of thin sliced sweet onion, and they smash it into a ball of beef, and it cooks and it kind of intermingles and mixes with the beef grease and caramelizes on the edges and gets kind of soft in the middle. It's pretty incredible. It's one of those burgers I believe has the sum is greater than its parts for sure. There's no question about it. So people bite in this burger and they say, take a bite and they say, what's the sauce? What's the secret? What are your seasonings? And there's nothing. It's literally 5 ingredients. It's only the bun, beef, cheese, salt, and onions, and that's it.
Sometimes simplicity is the most complex of flavors, right?
Well, what I like to think is that, my job is to make sure that people are not just getting it right, but they're also, getting the historically accurate burger. They're actually enjoying something that is not just something that I made up on my own, and I've got this special blend of spices and whatever else. No, but my job is to make sure you're eating burgers or enjoying burgers that have some kind of historical significance. And that's that burger for sure.
George, when you're smashing the smash burger, is there a technique or a proper device that you need to use to smash, or does it matter?
Oh, no, it definitely matters. I mean, I developed a special tool called the Smashula, which is nothing more than a quadruple weight, very, very stiff stainless steel spatula. It's a big wide spatula, but I've had problems where I've tried to smash with certain spatulas that have cracked and broken on me. If you're trying to make 400, 500, 600 burgers a day, you can never get through a day without breaking a spatula. It's almost impossible. So I invented a 12-gauge stainless spatula that is designed just for taking balls of beef and systematically smashing them exactly the same way every time. But what I actually do is a little different. I actually have a method, which is I stole a method from 3 different spots in the Midwest, and it involves a very specific roll, like a smash and roll. It's hard to explain as you actually see it happen. But I do something that actually allows the edges to get very, very thin and crispy, almost like the lacy-edged burgers of Central Illinois, which is a very specific type of burger. But it makes for a very, very special burger.
Is there a website? I mean, can I buy that Smashula on your website, or are they on Amazon, or where do you get them?
I wish you could. We actually sold out last December. Our factory quit on us, and we could not find anyone to actually pick up pick up where they left off. We currently, unfortunately, have a waiting list of about 250 people waiting for a Smashula.
Really?
We're trying to get back into production. I think that we are pretty close right now with a person who has taken it upon themselves. I said, listen, if you start now, we've got a very large order for you. So who wants it? And I think we finally found somebody. So hopefully we'll have, the idea is to have Smashulas by Christmas, hopefully.
All right. So if you are interested in one of George's Smashulas, head up his website and kind of keep track of what's going on, and hopefully production starts to take off. Let's talk about this unique thing, and it's not unique now, but, when it first started showing up on burgers, maybe it's been around forever, and it was just kind of one of those internet things, is the sunny side or the over easy egg on top of a burger, and then you either cut it in half or you lance it with a knife, so you get the nice yolk porn shot for your Instagram or whatever. But I mean, have these kind of eggs been on burgers for like decades and decades, or is it a fairly new fashion?
Well, I'd say in America it's fairly new, only because there are a few places in America that have always had an egg on a burger. I know a place in Virginia. I know there's a place in Texas. But outside of that, I don't. An egg on a burger is relatively new to Americans. Now, if you think about it, eggs on burgers have been happening forever around the world. I mean, eggs play very, very well in most cuisines in the world. In fact, I had an Italian egg dish tonight for dinner, which is kind of odd. But you think about eggs on burgers, they've been doing it forever in Indonesia. They've been doing it forever also in Australia. I mean, the idea that the Australian burger has a cooked egg, a fried egg on it, but not so much in America. It's a newish thing. It's actually become sort of a trendy gourmet thing also. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that all these guys who own these restaurants will say, hey, let's put an egg yolk that's half cooked, and then when it pops on Instagram, everyone will come and run and eat our burger, which of course is completely asinine. It makes me totally insane. It makes me crazy.
But let's talk about, aside from that, and I believe I used to call it yolk porn, and we used to make fun of people, they didn't realize it, but we were making fun of people that were doing it all the time. From a taste and a textural addition to the burger, I think that buttery yolk and the beef and the cheese and, whatever else is on top, it all plays wildly well together, albeit a little messy and so forth. But, what do you think? What do you think it adds to a positive or a negative?
No, there's no question about it that it adds a very important richness to the burger. But, I'm sort of torn because, to me, if I go into a restaurant, and I travel the world, I've been a lot of places, and if I see a dish that has an egg on top, I'm excited about it because I know it's going to add a certain amount of richness to that dish for sure. I'm not so sure I want that on my burger, though. To me, I think about the original burger. I think about the concept of the burger as something very, very simple and nothing more than meat, cheese, maybe just meat and onions and mustard, maybe a pickle. And that's what I want. I don't really want an egg on my burger. I want an egg for breakfast. I don't want an egg on my burger.
Would you be good if they cooked like a dozen eggs and bled them all out, and then you had like a ramekin of egg yolk that you could like dip your burger in? Or are we conceptualizing something for George Motz's hamburger machine when it opens up?
Yeah. I mean, I have friends who have very great high-end restaurants. They've got eggs in their burgers. I love them. I love their burgers. But honestly, if I'm talking about a daily beater, something I'm going to literally eat every single day,
yeah.
I guarantee even those guys would show up in my restaurant saying, I don't want that burger with egg on it. I think I want a regular, good old American cheeseburger, something I can literally enjoy every day and not even think about it.
Right on. George Motz joining us here on the show. All right, so let's have the uncomfortable conversation related to plant-based meats. The two biggest names out there, of course, Beyond and Impossible. And for whatever reason, George, the debut comes as hamburger-style patties. So do you have any, high-level thoughts on plant-based meat and the fact that they entered a market with hamburgers, no less?
Well, okay, they entered the market with hamburgers for a basic reason that it was an easy grab. People could understand that more than people could understand the farting cow over what a car might produce for some reason. I'm not sure why. They could also understand, on any food that you could have created this out of nothing, out of a science project. For some reason, the hamburger made the most sense. So the people who are making this what I call it imposter. It's the imposter burger. They're trying, which is fine. They're trying to tackle the market, and successfully so. I mean, they're preying on guilt, unfortunately, which I don't think is not such a great thing. They don't care about vegetarians, which they've openly said. I'm not sure if you knew that or not. They couldn't give a crap about vegetarians because vegetarians only make up, I think, 6% of the American palate. They care about the other 94% of Americans who actually are carnivores. They're trying to convert them. When I spoke to them, my friends at Impossible Foods, and they said, we're actually not trying to convert them. We're trying to basically tell them that they have an option. They have options. So, I mean, research has shown that every seventh sandwich that someone eats at a fast food restaurant is going to be something alternative. Before there was Impossible Foods and Beyond Meat, there was the chicken sandwich or the turkey burger, which is, I think, the biggest sham in the world. It's also not very healthy either, by the way. I know everything's so healthy. It's full of crap. It's full of a lot of stuff a hamburger itself literally has nothing in it but hamburger and hamburger fat and a lot of good natural stuff. You put a lot of like breadcrumbs and crap in a turkey burger to make it taste like anything. So Beyond Meat is actually Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods are actually on the right track in terms of trying to, get people to eat burgers. The problem is it doesn't taste like a burger. So,
well, I mean, I would argue that while they're trying to, I guess, provide an alternative, that they definitely don't care about humans in general, because if you look at the calorie intake and how highly processed it is, and I've said it on this show for months and months now, it's not a healthy alternative by any stretch of the imagination. It's not healthier than red meat. Yeah. It's not going to save your life. It's not going to do any of that. It's just a beef alternative, and that's all it is. And I think some people continually get caught up in, okay, well, it's not meat, so that means it must be healthy. Even though they're not saying it, they're not also not saying it.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong. I mean, I hate to say it, but if you let's think about Americans, what they looked like physically in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. I mean, you have the Depression in there for a while, and then people were probably starving, but they were pretty thin. They were pretty lean humans. Look at pictures of your grandparents.
Yeah.
They look fantastic. Why do they look so good? Because they were eating natural foods this is before processing, before anything, pretty much. And a hamburger is not it's not a bad thing. It's not bad for you. The bun may be worse than the actual meat itself in a way, if you think about it. So, sure, I mean, I do believe that companies like Beyond and Impossible, what they're basically doing is they're preying on guilt, which is an interesting part of the American psyche, but it's a very important part of branding and the way business is run. Mm-hmm. So maybe they're onto something, man. Yeah,
well, I mean, I had Pat LaFrida on the show maybe 2.5 months ago, and he's kind of semi-recurring. We love to talk beef with Pat, and he's from a high level there, LaFrida Meats is a supporter of the alternative beef or the plant-based meat product, but he said entering into this sector as a burger is a tremendous failure, and it's not going to overcome the necessary hurdles it needs in order to probably see the success that they were hoping for. But he seems to think that in a different form, let's say ground beef or something along these lines in a commercial kitchen or in the kitchen in your house, that's going to be where the ultimate success lies for Beyond an Impossible Meat.
Well, if they're, again, it's still a science project. It's still a marketing ploy. It's a lot of things that haven't quite fleshed out yet. Pardon the term. They haven't really fleshed out what's happening here. They're getting there. They've done an amazing amount of marketing, and they've done a lot. It's really obviously been very effective. People are talking about it nonstop. I must have done 10 interviews a week the minute that the good old BK decided to go with Impossible Foods. But I think it's definitely the problem that I have with it is simply that it doesn't taste good. Which I think if you're talking about a hamburger, I think you got to nail the taste first. And they've had 2.0 was introduced last year, and it was honestly it was a lot better than 1.0, that's for sure. But it wasn't quite there yet. And I think what they're missing is that they're missing a very important scientific component that I've talked about with them. They're missing oleic acid. Oleic acid is something that's found mostly in the bottom of the animal. Briskets and the slower cooked cuts. The oleic acid is a very important aspect to flavor profile of meat. It also exists. You can also find it in avocado, and you can find it in olive oil. So it exists out there, but you have to have that. That's what people go back to brisket. They can't understand why they love brisket so much. And it's because of that. It's because of the draw of oleic acid.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe I recently read an article that said oleic acid is actually a health benefit, too. I mean, I didn't go out of its way to say you should be eating 8 pounds of brisket, but it said if you're going to eat red meat, maybe, a brisket with the benefits of oleic acid probably isn't a bad thing. Or if you have the option, choose the brisket.
This is true, but it's more of the high. It's more of the high you get from eating brisket. It is inherent in the oleic acid. That's where it comes from.
All right, George, I'm going to put you on the spot here with 30 seconds left to go. Favorite burger you have ever eaten and why?
Oh, I can't. That's a secret. I can't tell you that. I can't play favorites, unfortunately. I can't do that.
All right, I'm going to tell you my favorite burger because I don't have any problem calling people out. The favorite burgers, and it just recently happened on my visit to Chicago a couple weeks ago. I went to Au Cheval on the West Loop. I was expecting a 3-hour line. It was a Sunday at 10 o'clock a.m. I got right in, sat right down at the bar, watched the symphony and masterpiece that was happening at the flat top with like a dozen dudes back there sweating on top of each other. That burger, and it was a double burger. They were thinner. I did get the egg, thick-cut bacon. It was a sublime marriage of meat and fat and cheese, and the bun was delicious. I think by far currently the best restaurant hamburger I've had. Have you been there?
Of course I've been there. I've been there a bunch of times. I do love the burger. I think if you're looking at Chicago, it's obviously one of the best in the Midwest, one of the best gourmet higher end burgers in Chicago for sure, unquestionably. I'm not a big fan of that big piece of pork belly they put on there though, or bacon, whatever they call it.
Yeah, they call it bacon.
It needs to come off. They need to take that off there, or you just take it off yourself and eat it as a snack later on. Put it in your pocket and save it for later. The egg, I think, is an add-on. You must have added the egg.
Yeah, it was an add-on. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, I've had the egg, and the first time I went there, I had the egg. I thought it was too much. It was too rich. It was too much going on. But I needed to take a nap after this. A burger shouldn't make you have to take a nap. A burger should be something that propels you through the day, not makes you want to crash.
Right.
So the egg was a little bit much, but I definitely do appreciate that burger for sure. That is a great burger. Yeah. Right. I'm not gonna tell you that in New York City we have a new great burger just came out. Billy Dirty at who started Hometown, a barbecue place. I'm sure you've heard of Hometown. He opened a restaurant called Red Hook Tavern, and that burger is literally off the charts. And it's so good because it is nothing more than dry aged cuts blended with some other fresh beef, cooked on a flat top and served on a very basic bun with nothing more than American cheese. And it is fantastic. And I love the fact that it's a triumph for burgers because there's nothing to this burger except for the quality of the meat and the way it's cooked and cheese, and that's it.
Well, October 8th and 9th, I may be in New York City for my middle daughter's modeling gig, and that means most of the day I have nothing to do but toil around. So that could be a place where I might want to hit up then, right?
Give me a call. You're not going to get in without me.
Oh, very good. Then George has laid it out there on the line. I will definitely take you up on that if that actually comes to fruition. In the meantime, you can hit up George's website, georgemotz.com, and see everything that he has done. And also, this archive will be available tomorrow just after the midnight hour sweeps. George, this has been an incredible couple segments, great insight, great energy, and I certainly appreciate it. Hopefully we can do it again.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
You got it. There he is.